Hello and welcome to SW6 Essential. I am joined by Joe Sansom. Joe, we have so much to talk about.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. How are you, Jack? You doing good?
Yeah, I'm well after last night. Mixed feelings, but overall pleased with the point. And it's the first 0-0 at Craven Cottage since, was it 2011 or something, 2010, 2011 against Aston Villa. Joe, where do we start? I mean, because we've got to talk about Liverpool as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wish wish maybe the schedule had been a bit different, so we could have just had an episode just to talk about that Liverpool game because it was so exciting. You were there, so from your perspective, it must have been even more exciting. Roaring the team on, I think the fans made a massive difference, and it was a performance that, as good as the Leicester performance was, I can't remember seeing a Fulham game like that in a long time, where the energy levels were just through the roof. Every tackle was huge, every block was huge, and we looked so dangerous every time we came forward. And we've got to remember, this is against the champions. I know they've had their injury problems, as Klopp loves to point out every 5 seconds that he can, but this is a very, very good team. They had the majority of their first 11 there, maybe other than the centre-backs, and we gave them a real go, and we probably should have come away with the 3 points. In my opinion. But what was it like to actually be there?
It was great. It was quite surreal. It was like being at a friendly, but it wasn't a friendly. It was quite a big game. But the atmosphere, I said it on the match reaction, that it was as good as you'd get from any full capacity game. I just thought the noise generated from the 2000 were fantastic, and I think it really did spur the team on. And I was just so impressed. While we controlled the game, or large parts of the first half, broke their press extremely well, broke with pace, got in behind them after 3 or 4 passes. It was quite extraordinary, and it was really. I couldn't quite believe what was happening until after the game. It's weird because I was telling this to my brother as we were walking back. When you're trudging through Bishop's Park after a game, like through the rain, and it feels like, oh yeah, I've just never been away from this. I feel like I just did this last week, but obviously we hadn't done it since March. So it was an interesting one. What I will say, the only bad thing about the old matchday experience, and there was nothing really bad about it at all. I thought Fulham did a superb job of putting the game on. They gave out bottles of water as well, which was great. Was the queuing system, and probably my fault. I probably had one too many in the pub and turned up with half an hour till kickoff. But the queue was going all the way back to almost the Crabtree. So, but we did get in time. We got in just as the teams took the knee, which was fantastic, and the crowd reaction was a lovely round of applause, and the game got underway. But Joe, as you can tell by the title, it is SW6 Essential, Fulham 18-19 compared to 2021. So far, so good with 2021. I feel like we're just outside the relegation zone. We're doing a much better job than we did the last time we were in the Premier League, Joe. And that's what we're here to discuss. And obviously, we're going to touch on the Liverpool and Brighton game from last night as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real reason for this topic is when me, you, and Liam were talking on here after the Villa game, so 3 games in, we were looking ahead to Wolves and Brentford in the Cup as well. And the main topic of conversation was sort of how embarrassing the start of the season had been, and all the comparisons that you could draw to the 18-19 season, all the off-field stuff involving Tony Khan, the transfer problems that we hadn't quite sorted out yet, the bad defending, the similarities in the style of play and how it wasn't really working. And it sort of felt like it was Groundhog Day or Groundhog season. And it's amazing what a couple of months can do, because the talk of the commentators in every game that we've played recently is how much we've improved and how it looks like a different team. And I do think that if the team that played last night, even though they weren't at their best, I think the Liverpool game took its toll in terms of their fitness, which we'll come on to. I think if this team that started last night or the team that started against Liverpool played the team that we were playing against Arsenal, for example, I think we'd win quite easily. And I think that says it all. I mean, obviously, you would have a few players playing against themselves, like Ivan Cavallero, but sometimes he seems to do that anyway with those ball rolls. But we look so much improved. The defence is the main plus point for me. And even yesterday, it sort of had the hallmarks to me of something that we haven't seen since Hodgson, which is a team that, yes, can be can make it a little bit dull when they need to. And I think that's a really good trademark of a team, that you can dig in, and when you're not at your best, you can just nullify the game. And I think we did that, because at the start of the second half yesterday, we dug in deep when we were under a lot of pressure from set pieces, which Brighton were dominating us at due to the size of their team. They got some giants at the back, and that's even forgetting Dan Burn on the bench. And it was really positive to see that we didn't buckle under that pressure. And that's the first comparison for me, is in 18-19 or the start of this season, whichever way you want to look at it, we would 100% have gone 1-0 down there. And I just think it's such a good testament to this team that we now seem to be able to grind it out.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, how 18-19 was a marathon of a season. We had 3 different managers, one, of course, being the manager now. But under Slav, he'd stick very much to his style of play out from the back. That kind of, if we have the ball, they can't score mentality, which is fine. It worked in the Championship. It did not work in the Premier League. But now we're seeing tactical adaptability to opponents. We're seeing a solidness in defence that we just have never seen at Fulham since Hangland v Hughes. And last night, I think a real point of this is Joachim Andersen being the captain. We finally have someone who's a leader at the back. I mean, Kearney's been the captain for years now, but this is a leader from midfield. So with Andersen, you have everything that Kearney doesn't have, which is a bit of leadership quality. And I think him and Adrabayo together have been fantastic. We've had Kearney captaining the team in the last few years. And although he is a fan's favourite and a captain in that sense, does he have the attributes of an actual captain, of a Steven Gerrard, or I don't know, that's a terrible example, but someone who, like a Breda Hangland. So I'm just pleased. And Joachim Andersen's interview after the game, the interviewer said, you must be delighted, man of the match, clean sheet. And he said, well, we're not delighted because we didn't win the game. And I was like, that is the kind of mentality you need in this sort of relegation scrap. Last night was an interesting game, because in the second half, it was an absolute onslaught from Brighton. It feels like we just couldn't get control of the ball. It was unbelievable. Every time we clear it, they'd win every second ball and just return it down the wings and win probably about 20,000 corners last night. But the VAR situation, first the goal went in, and I was like, we're 1-0 down. That's not going to be overturned. I don't think anything's happened there. Then we looked at the replay. And I was like, well, he might be offside. And then I don't know whether he was or wasn't. And then it was a handball, which it was a handball, because the only touch that Welbeck gets to then lay that ball into Lallana was his hand. So the goal was rightly chalked off. And it's the first time, Joe, we've had a goal scored against us, which has then been chalked off for VAR. So how did that feel from a fan's point of view?
It was a relief. I was jubilant. I was celebrating as if we'd scored a goal almost, because I was so down when we conceded that goal. I was thinking, second half, we need to show a bit of something here. We didn't play great in the first half, didn't offer much. And I just thought the last thing we need is an immediate setback. And I thought that's what had happened. And really scrappy goal as well. Really bad one to give away. So I was really happy. I'm not a VAR fan. That's not to say I'm against the actual system itself. I just don't agree with how it's been used, really. And I think that looking at every little thing doesn't help. But I think last night, if that goal goes in and counts, that's a joke, because he literally passed it to Lallana with his hand. So, yeah, whether it was an offside, I don't know. I think it was quite a tight call, but 100% handball and right decision.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think that the approach that we put to the game, that we put to Brighton, which was playing on the counter-attack, do you think that suited the opposition? Do you think that we should have played a different style, given we were playing Brighton and we were at home? We could have maybe controlled the ball a little bit more and tried to create chances in that sense, because we really did create quite limited chances, apart from Lookman right at the end, the Loftus-Cheek chance, and Cavaliero's shot in the first half. It was basically all Brighton.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I don't really have a problem with the way we set up. I think that perhaps just the personnel could have been different. I think that Brighton are a team, and we've seen it a lot this season, they just maybe haven't got the results to show it. come to play, and they come to play expansive football, and they normally create a lot of chances. And if they had a striker that could score 20, 30 goals a season and wasn't Danny Welbeck, then they'd probably be quite a way away from the relegation zone at this point in time. I think that playing a sort of counter-attacking style like we did against Liverpool was the right idea. We pressed them well. It's just I feel that we lost the midfield battle. And I think that we needed Tom Cairney in there rather than Loftus-Cheek. I think Loftus-Cheek worked against Liverpool in the first half with his physicality. But I think with Brighton, when we're going to have a little bit more of the ball, even if we are being slightly more conservative and defensive and waiting for spaces to open up in front of us, I think that we need Cairney in there to dictate the play like he did against West Brom a couple of last month. And I think that would have been my change. I think that Mitrovic should have been more involved. I don't know whether he should have started because of how well we played against Liverpool without him, but I think he should have definitely come on earlier. I think 15 minutes at the end, he was just sort of feeding off scraps and did well with what he had to work with. But if it was me in charge, I would have started with Cairney. And I was saying this to you guys even before the match. And that would have been my change. I really think that could have had a huge impact on the game. I don't know what's happening with Cairney because he was playing very well. And then the Leicester game happened and we played very well without him. The Man City game happened. He did okay off the bench. And the Liverpool game, we didn't need him. But with these games against teams like Brighton and Newcastle coming up, where we're going to have a bit more of the ball, I just feel like we need him there.
Oh, sorry, I got something in my eye. Right.
Tears of joy, another clean sheet.
The TC situation is interesting. He is the club captain, as I said. My fear, and I really hope this isn't true, is that in the Ruben Loftus-Cheek deal, there's a clause in his contract which says he needs to play X amount of games. I don't like that clause in any contract with a player. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's happened. But you'd think that a game like last night, TC would play, and he didn't. And I don't think Liverpool game we needed him because of the way we were playing. But someone to control the midfield is what we were completely lacking last night. Anguissa was really struggling to get a hold of this Brighton midfield, and it was frustrating. Anguissa was struggling to deal with the pace of Lamptey. He took him down early. He made a couple more fouls. It was amazing he didn't get a yellow card. But the TC situation is, well, I think he comes in for Newcastle, and
yeah, I 100% agree.
But my worry about last night was something that was brought up on Twitter as well. I'm not sure if the podcast is. I haven't listened to the podcast yet, but because of the system we're playing with Bobby Reid going right wing back, it means when he comes off at Kamara goes right wing back, and I don't think I could trust a player less to play at right wing back than Abubakar Kamara. He's someone you'd want up top, chasing down the balls and putting pressure on and pressing the goalkeeper and the defence. Having said that, he did okay. He didn't make any real mistakes to let Brighton in or anything. I just think that if you're going to take off someone in Bobby Cordova-Reid who does such a decent job at right wing back, you should bring on a natural right wing back. Switch Aina into right wing back and then put a third centre back on if we're going to play that far with the back system. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I didn't agree with the sub when it happened, and even though I don't think Kamara did anything wrong, I don't think he did anything right, and I don't think that's his position. I think he knows that. I think Parker knows that, and I feel like it was just sort of putting a square peg in a round hole situation, or just a raging bull in a china shop in Kamara whenever he comes on. I like Kamara. I think that there's a player there, but I'm in the same situation as you where I get a bit nervous whenever he comes on. I feel like something bad is going to happen. And it didn't yesterday. With Tete still coming back to fitness, I guess Aina is the only other player that could play right wing back. I'm not having Odoi come on and play that position. I don't think that would work at all. So I sort of feel like if Bobby Reid went off yesterday, I think that we should have just switched to a 4 at the back.
Yeah, we could just,
and then push Kamara further up. I guess that's almost what happened, but he did seem to drop off quite a lot. And I just really feel that it was a bit of an opportunity missed in terms of the subs yesterday. Lamina on for Reid worked well. I think that as soon as Lamina came on, you he's sort of got a grip of that midfield, which is very tough. Bissouma's a very, very good player, and I think it was a good battle with him and Anguissa, and I think Bissouma got the better of him last night. When Lamina came on, I think that changed, and I would like to see him start again on Saturday if he's fully fit.
Let's talk a little bit more about the topic in hand. There must be, there's so many characteristics that are so different from this season to the last time we were in the Premier League. I think last time we were in the Premier League, there was from an early outset, and it could have so easily happened this season as well. There was a toxic atmosphere around the fan base and the club, and it almost happened it did happen after Villa, but it quickly got resolved through good defensive performances, improving of performances, players like Lookman really grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck, and I remember that Wolves game, he was really impressive. But Joe, last time out, there was no real high point of the season. There was no real moment where we were like, right, here we go. Maybe Southampton at home under Ranieri, but even so, I remember when we beat Brighton 4-2 from 2-0 down, and then we were like, right, we go to Palace away, we have to get a result, and we were like the worst we've ever been that season. That season makes me so angry, and I was so upset and just so depressed through the whole season. It's so nice to see a solidness, a willingness to fight this season under a manager who clearly wants to get the best out of his players, and we're seeing the reaps of those rewards. Joe.
Well, it's easy to forget as well. I was saying this the other day, that we've just had the same match day in Brighton at home as Southampton at home was in 18-19 when we won 3-2. It's a bit deceiving how near to Christmas we are because of coronavirus and how late the season started, but we're a lot earlier on than people think, I think.
So Slav would have just been sacked.
So Ranieri's just had his first game and we've won, and we still look defensively rubbish, basically. Meanwhile, this season, even though the results have been, on the whole, similar in terms of the amount of points we picked up to this point, the goals conceded column is looking so much healthier. The fact we've actually kept a clean sheet before Newcastle away pre-Christmas is brilliant. And I feel like we've got a bit more of an identity, and it's not... I think the main thing for me is the players as well. I feel like Joachim Andersen's come in, he's been made our captain, he's a lone player, and he looks like he really cares. In 18-19, I think we had quite a few mercenaries that were players like Schürrle, that he's admitted afterwards he wasn't as into football, and players that maybe didn't. Yeah, I mean, I don't want that from a footballer, to be honest with you, that plays for my club. I want someone that's going to give 110%. Timothy Fosu-Mensah didn't work out. Vieto didn't work out after some early promise. Rico was okay, but made quite a few mistakes. Couldn't catch anything to save his life. And then Callum Chambers is probably the only one that I would say actually showed some grit and desire to actually keep us up. Whereas this season, we're all talking about how we want to keep all the loanees. The only one that's split opinion so far really has been Loftus-Cheek. And I think that the quality of players we've got this time around is so much greater. I think we've got players that can get us through games when we've been poor. Yesterday, Areola on top form. On another day, we could lose that game 1-0. We've got Dunk's 2 chances at the start of the second half. We've got a bit of luck with Webster's header hitting the bar. And I just feel like the determination in the team this time around seems different. We never really had that moment in 18-19, as you said, grim season where nothing really went for us. And we never had that game where we thought we look like we belong at this level. We had a few games where we outscored teams based on a really good half in the Brighton game, individual brilliance in the Southampton game through Mitrovic, but we never really looked like a Premier League team. And this time round, I think we are starting to look like one. Yeah,
and I think it bodes back to what we've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 weeks. The competition in this Premier League has just been absolutely unbelievable. It's interesting because last night's games between Leeds and Newcastle was crucial, because whoever basically wins that game gets further away from the relegation zone, obviously. But with Leeds winning it, I thought, oh, that's annoying. But actually, it's not really as bad as you think, because I think Newcastle are worse of the two teams. And of course, they're our next opponents. They're both on 17 points. We're on 9. So if we win on Saturday, which I'm not sure if we will, I'm not sure we go within 5 points. And we're starting to look up the table again. But look, Burnley are playing right now. By the way, Burnley are playing right now against Aston Villa. It's still 0-0 as we're recording this, just before the kickoff. Sheffield United lost again. I mean, they're playing tonight against Manchester United at 8. I'm sure probably be watching that. Bizarre. I'm speechless about this season. It's been unbelievable, and I really feel as though I don't think after last night, I do not think that Brighton will be anywhere near or should be anywhere near relegation. I think they're fine. They're a good outfit, and if they had someone like Mopé on the pitch in that first half, that ball that comes across the box in the first half, that's 1-0. And they probably could have won that game 2 or 3-0. I think fatigue probably did play a part in the game. Joe, do you think, given the effort we put in against Liverpool?
Definitely. And I know that Brighton had a game against Leicester as well, but we shouldn't forget they've made 6 changes. It's over half the team. I mean, obviously you can't have half the team. It'd be 5.5, like half of, I don't know, Welbeck. Probably better than the whole thing. But, it's a weird one. I do think that we seemed a bit fatigued. You could see that Reed wasn't quite on it. He only came for the last half an hour or however long it was in the Liverpool game, but gave his all. Robinson was very solid defensively, but going forward, you could tell he wasn't as adventurous as normal. I think that was possibly he was trying to conserve his energy a bit. And Bobby Reed struggled as well.
It was interesting, the wing-back situation last night, because normally one of our biggest outlets is the overlapping run from Robinson. But I don't remember a big chance. I remember the chance where he sort of got the ball caught underneath his feet and the ball went sailing out for a goal kick because the ball from Lookman was not good enough to him. But he wasn't bombing forward as much as you'd expect. In fact, we really, really did, as I said earlier, struggle to get hold of the ball. There was times where we would have it and then Lookman would just slip out. The pitch last night was too slippery. Our players were just slipping all over the place and it was really frustrating. I think Brighton played very well. They stifled basically all our outlets, and we really did struggle to create. And you got to hand it to the opposition. But that's why I'm so pleased that we've come away with a point there, as opposed to the game against Liverpool on Sunday, where you feel aggrieved. How are we feeling aggrieved playing the champions, and coming out with just a point? I think we were really, really good value in that game, and we could have won. We should have beaten Liverpool.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think Brighton. I wouldn't say they impressed me because I've seen them quite a few times this season. It was along the same lines. It's quite pretty football at times, but they just can't score, and they really struggle to score. And I think they need to get someone in January, otherwise they will still be involved. I don't think they'll go down, but I can't see them pulling away without suddenly someone coming in and scoring quite a few goals for them, because they create a lot of really high quality chances. And we've had nearly a third of the season now, and they're still in the same situation. So I think someone does need to come in. But we both played the same formation yesterday, 3-4-3, sort of cancelled each other out. I think that, as I said earlier, Basuma won the midfield battle against Anguissa, which is something that hasn't really happened this season. Even against some of the best centre midfielders in the world, I think that Anguissa gave De Bruyne a real battle a couple of weeks ago, which says it all. And it's just one of these things. It was one of those days at the office where nothing really seemed to go for us, and we suddenly got a bit of a lucky break with that Loftus-Cheek chance. And on another day, that goes in, and we win 1-0. And equally on another day, the Webster header goes in, and we lose 1-0. So I'm more than happy with the point. We need to play better than we did, and I'm sure we will on Saturday. And I did say that I think we needed 4 points from these 2 games. I would still stand by that, and I do think we need to go to Newcastle with the intention of coming away with a win. Worst case scenario, not losing the game, because I do still think Newcastle will be pulled in. I've got some money riding on it with one of our friends. Because I've basically dug myself a bit of a hole. And if there are any Geordies watching this, I'm sorry, but I don't think you're very good. I don't think we're suddenly amazing, but I just think Newcastle will be down there, and I think the table's been a bit misleading. And I want us to go there, and I want us to prove that we the Liverpool and Leicester games were not just some flukes against some top of the table opposition where we raised our game. I want us to show that we can beat these teams around us like we did West Brom.
Yeah, there's still a couple of more things we need to touch on, and that is the fact that last week we were joking about, the results need to go away, and if West Brom could get something out of Man City, and West Brom got something out of Man City, and that was down to, I think West Brom were okay. They defended really, really well and were so organised, and actually they managed to get more chances than we did when we went to Man City a couple of weeks ago. Carlin Grant should have scored in the first half. And then, of course, Bilic got sacked. So we're now talking about the first managerial casualty of the season. Now then, Sam Allardyce comes into West Brom. And I looked at a graphic this morning. I think 4 jobs he's come in the Premier League when the team has been, I think Everton were 13th and all the rest were in the relegation zone. He's kept them all up. Everton finished 8th that season as well. Crystal Palace, Sunderland, I can't remember the other one. But what do you think about this? Because do you know what? I've had this sort of like epiphany that the dinosaur managers who come in to save teams can't do it anymore. Tony Pulis at Sheffield Wednesday still hasn't won a game for them. They're still in the relegation zone. Houghton, who's coming in at Nottingham Forest, albeit this is the Championship, still okay. He's won a couple of games. Won the other night against Sheffield Wednesday. They're still hovering in and around the relegation zone. So are these dinosaurs, as we like to call them, Sam Allardyce, will he keep West Brom up? That's my real question, Joe.
I hope not.
No.
And I've got to say, I fear them more with Allardyce than I did with Bilic. And that's purely on his reputation. We know that the football is going to be effective football. And he's probably going to bring in some experienced heads that he's had from past jobs in the transfer window. Saw him linked with James Tompkins today. And it's that sort of mould, no-nonsense players that will get the job done and could keep them up. We mustn't forget that they're only 2 points behind us. If we're saying that we're starting to pull it together a bit, then maybe they are as well. It's a very respectable point at Man City where they really dug in and got a bit of luck along the way, but I think they probably deserved it based on how well they defended for the most part. Sterling has still got blood on his hands, but we will move on. And it's one of these things where Bilic was under a bit of pressure, partly due to how they finished the Championship season. According to a few reporters, they sort of limped over the line. And it wasn't that sort of special promotion they were anticipating when they pulled about 10 points clear of third in January of last year. And it's one of those things where with Sam Allardyce coming in, will they get a new manager bounce? It's already a derby that they're playing on Sunday, I think it is, against Villa.
Yeah.
And you just, under Allardyce, I just can't think of writing them off. I mean, I can't even write Sheffield United off at the moment because they're just not that far behind. I don't agree with the narrative, as we said last time, and I won't get into it, that they've been unlucky. I think they've been poor. But 3 wins and they're above us. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so tight. And I'm more wary of West Brom now than I was when Bilic was in charge.
Yeah, it's always one of those. We have the topic and we talk about it, but we completely go off track and talk about the other teams around us. It's so classic. Joe, as it stands, I was just having a look a couple of minutes ago. For some reason, I thought that a draw tonight would be good for us because it would mean that we'd still be above the relegation zone. It's actually not because, of course, Burnley were already on 9 points. So if Burnley draw tonight or win, of course, they go above us. We go back into the relegation zone. Wow, we've been going for half an hour. I didn't even realise. Where's the time gone? We should probably wrap this one up. Newcastle away. They lost 5-2 last night to Leeds United. They were level twice and then they completely capitulated. I think it was just the style of play from Leeds that completely outdid them. Every time that Leeds scored from 3, 4 and 5, it was them breaking forward and they had about 20 players running with them all the way forward. So they had like millions of options. But the 5th goal was very good, to be fair. Joe, how do you see this one going against Callum Wilson FC?
I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's probably going to be a bit of a dull one, actually.
Yeah.
With the sort of style that we've been playing and the style that Newcastle play, I don't think there'll be too many chances. but I back us to get something from this one, and I really hope we win. So my prediction is 2-1 Fulham. And I think that's more of a heart rather than head, because I can't see which way it's going to go. But I would say quickly, one last tiny reference to the topic is that last time we were up in 18-19, we were the team that blinked first alongside Southampton, and we went for the dinosaur, in inverted commas, in Ranieri, someone that we thought was going to be effective. We got there ahead of Southampton, who went for Hassan Hutel, and look where they've gone. And now it's West Brom that have gone for the old heads, and I wonder if it will go the same way as it went for us when we sort of thought that we can get away with playing some boring football, staying up, and then building from there. It's not as easy as it seems, and it's very early on in the season. We must remember, in a normal season, we'd be at the end of November, just had the second international break. So, yeah.
It's actually the third international break in November, September, October, November.
Sorry, I'm an international break hater, I'm afraid. So,
what I will say is that I am very much pro stick with your manager. I mean, after the last 2 times we've been in the Premier League, stick with Parker for the whole season, regardless of what happens, because I think this guy, I said it the other night to, who do I say it to? Someone, I think my brother, that I can see Scott Parker managing England. Down the line, in 4 or 5 years, 6 years, I can see Scott Parker managing England. What I will say about the Brighton game, my final point, is that I think I'm very impressed with their aggressive press. I thought they completely stopped us from playing. It wasn't actually us playing badly. I thought that Brighton just stopped us playing, and that they pressed us so high. There was times where we were just completely panicking around the final third, which was their final third, which is sometimes, our final third, which is sometimes where we've come unstuck, where we've given the ball away. You remember the game against Everton in the first 40 seconds, but we actually dealt with it really well. We beat the press at times, although we had to lump it up a few times and start over again. And yeah, I'm really impressed with the way we actually dealt with that. And my final point was that I'm fuming because not only I'm not allowed to watch the Fulham game in the main living room. I'm here because my parents are watching the Strictly Come Dancing final. I'm absolutely seething.
I didn't even know it was on, let alone the final.
Look, I said to them, look, Fulham are playing Newcastle. Why don't you just watch it after the game? We'll finish at 10 o'clock so you can watch it for an hour and a half. You go to bed at half. Oh, no. We love watching it. I've said my piece. I've been banished upstairs to watch it, where I watched it last night with my brothers in a separate room. I'm going to just try and make as much noise as possible with Fulham score, stamp on the, really just go for it. So that no, I'm joking. I'll be nice. But so anyway, Joe, we must talk about when we're going to next speak. Surely next Wednesday, which will be the 23rd of December.
I think it's got to be a little pre-Christmas, pre-Southampton episode. But yeah, I can see that. I think you've got some Christmas decorations in the reflection behind you, feeling a bit festive. And I hope that everyone watching has as good of a Christmas as you can in these current times. And hopefully that's helped by a result on Saturday, because I think that'd be the best present.
A result on Saturday might be forced to take out some pale ales and get them out for the SW6 Essential, because we're in festive mood, and when it comes to I think from the 22nd onwards, any time where you want to crack out a bit of alcohol, just do it, as long as it's like before 9 a.m. No, not before 9 a.m. My bad.
Yeah, exclusively before 9 a.m.
So yeah, we'll leave it there, Joe. We've actually rattled through so much, and we probably didn't touch on half the things I probably would have wanted to. It is still 0-0 in that Aston Villa Burnley game. I'm going to whack it on right now as soon as we're done here. No offense to you, Joe.
It's all right. I'm going to do the same.
We'll see you next Wednesday then, Joe. Thanks very much for being here.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks, Jack. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, I've been ridiculed for my long-winded goodbyes on this. I'm just gonna end it. So we'll see you next Wednesday. Come on, Fulham. Enjoy your weekend and whatever you get up to. Come on, Fulham.